Got the materials, got the plan. Written essay meets video essay. Never coming to YouTube because I procrastinate too much, but I'm good. Take care, guys. Downgrading culture, I guess. I mean, devolving. I missed the word. Devolving culture and martial arts magic. Man, mirrors are magical and some. This is Dr. Exces Wise, also known as Exces Wise. Still better than a little bit of what they said with I'm so glad I don't remember that name of that movie because I don't want to make fun of them yet. Because they deserve a lot of fucking thank you right now. Still couldn't. Nah, it's not gonna be it's show either. Okay. Dr. Exces Wise is a character I made that strangely resembles the Invader Zim father, and Dim's father is, with all intents and purposes, actually a really good character because Dim's father in Invader Zim is very. I think he shows up. He shows up in the main show more often than I realize. He's not an absentee father. He actually does show up a lot. So imagine someone who looks like Invader Zim. Imagine someone who looks like Dim's father, who's actually a scientist and also an inventor and a really cool person. Take his aesthetic and place a little bit more of genuine sacrifice and empathy, and you now have Dr. Exces Wise. So the original design for Exces Wise looked a little bit more like Christopher Sr. He was supposed to be someone who was more like eclectic, and maybe when he was younger he was like that, but like he was looking like a little more blonde, kind of like a Hail Predator blonde version of that. And Exxay, his thing was by setting boundaries and making sure that he knew like what his anchors were telling him, his proverbial anchors and his boundary setting for healthy boundaries, and what that would tell him. So the thing with Exxay is that when he's a kid and he's fighting Scancel's Prime, this is what happens. Scancel's will show up and be like, Exxay! And then he'll just be like, okay, this guy knows who I am, so what if I would know what that blue alien, a demon is like? All-powerful alien god. And it's like, so Exxay will be clever, he'll be like, Scorn Blade, and it's actually really clever scene. I was gonna animate this for TikTok, but I didn't know how to have time. TikTok would love the hell of that, something like that though. So it'd be like this. It'd be like the Super Smash Bros. Things like, call me mama. Scorn Blade. Wild guess. Wild guess. Okay, we'll go for the ice skating for the sequel now. Dude, TikTok would love to see something like that. Like, especially in this day and age where we're actually like, where most people think I'm an asshole these days, and they just ignore me and they don't refuse to engage with me. But a little different, you know. Of course, I'm kidding a little bit, or more than a little bit, but. So Dr. Exces Wise, in the future, he does indeed invent the chemical compounds, the twin chemical compounds for that mimic Eoster's Down syndrome abilities, but also a little bit more like because Eoster's from Project Tether, which is a little different, but because compared to Conroy, Pale Hatchet, and again Lisk, the transgender cyborg version of Lisk in Project Tether, we'll get into that as well over time. But Eoster's superpowers are about downgrading and upgrading in opposite ends of her arms. So one arm can upgrade, one arm can downgrade, but together do the other things. Kind of like Screw's abilities a little bit, kind of like Thomas Imagine Baker from Rental Index, a little different, but. So when Dr. Exces Wise makes the chemical compound version of Eoster's abilities, in spite of alien race and other things, his thing is that he's going for a chemical compound twin set where one a compound can upgrade the qualities of anything, and the other one can downgrade the qualities of anything. The liquids can do that for some mystical reason. It can do that, and when he is close friends with Christopher Sr. and Vivian, it's a little different, but. Exxay, for the most part, is because I think Exxay does have Tourette's, and Exxay also has ADHD, but he's not autistic and he's also not ADD. But a little different there. DSM-5, whatever else you go for. Exxay does not make excuses, but at the same time, he's not perfect, right? So sometimes people step all over him, and sometimes people are very rude about how they know that he gets there, and they still take advantage of his truth bullying. So if anyone were to treat Exxay like he's a neo-Nazi, or tell him, you know, my son listens to me, why are you telling me what to do? It's like, bro, like, your son listens to their father because they believe in their mission, but in spite of that, their father will take that. Dude, Richard Witt gets this wrong so bad, it actually grabs my gears. Like, Richard will be like, okay, Paul will listen to me because he knows that his father's a good person, and a good moral person, quote unquote. And I'm not trying to be hard on Richard, it's just that Dude, your kid listens to you because you're a good person to begin with. In spite of that, you're still fucking up, right? So back to the conversation. Back to the relevant, engaged conversation of forced relevancy. I beg to differ, but I don't actually beg to differ. Exxay would get pissed off at people like Richard Wood easily. Like Exxay, like Dr. Exces Wise, the Invader Zim father element of that, he would get easily pissed off at people like Richard Wood. But in the meantime, in the story, he's pissed off at Christopher Sr. because Christopher Sr. will make points about things that are not really accurate. So then Exxay will be like, Exes will be like, well, that'd be like personal. Give an example for some weird reason, kind of like an event bot doing that a little bit. Well, that'd be like personal. Give an example, different thing like that. And then Christopher Sr. will be like, you're judging me, 247 as a matter of it. Chris, all you want. Remember this: who got you in here? And indeed, it includes the purple star, the roll star that resembles McKean and McLean, a little bit reference there, and the gray sun that Grace and Gwendolyn, McKean and McLean as well. But that's what you see in the Christopher Comes a Time Travel prologue, where Awful Stones already embodied in the What If story for Liz Cunningham, and that's already a continuity and nostalgia reference to that, because that's already the conversation involving Exxay and Christopher Sr. When you zoom into Christopher Jr. in Boyd Cascade, and they're a reference with Anne Sword Master and Liz Cunningham. That's when you see the Grayson hover over. So, in other words, yes, Liz does resemble Grayson. And this was unintentional, by the way. Andromeda resembles Makina. Exxay, as a person with eyes on the sides of his mouth, and someone who genuinely cares about why the Nazis, the real Nazis, not the neo-Nazis, but why the real Nazis killed all the Jews. And not so much because they didn't like circumcision bastards from the Jews. Because Jewish historians and Jewish astrologers you know about in real life, those people are cool as hell. Because they know that there's more than just 2 days that are important in your life. Because most Americans will say things like, the most important thing about your life is when you're born and why you're born. Dude, if you're a real child, you'll live multiple lifetimes in the same one. So it won't just be your birthday and the reason why you're born. It'll be multiple days. It'll be, like for me, it was like when I was like March 1997. It was also when I was 2010, 2011. So because of puberty, a little bit. I'm trying to become the most important person of all time in spite of that. Not committing suicide in spite of that. And then still being my best self. And then like around like the Shizuo cult period in 2018. Something around maybe this time period. And then even... but you get the idea, right? It's not just 2 damn dates. Multiple lifetimes in the same lifetime. There's a lot of trust to go through. Trust me. Like 10th house stellium and 11th house stellium. Maybe. City stelliums. My birth chart for astrology and tarot. But, so anyways, back to it. When Exes creates the 10 twin chemical compounds, his goal is to prove that doing nothing is an action in itself. So when he creates an invisible car that doesn't move anywhere because its torque goes in the same spot over and over again, people make fun of him because they think there's no point in something being invisible if it doesn't move. Because then you'll be able to predict what it sounds and its visibility. Kind of like what they did with Monsters vs. Aliens in the show, but a little different there. And the soundless device from the roach was kind of badass, but what was visibility? Visibility cloak like from Slippy Toad. If I even played the Star Fox platform games or the Flying Monster on Mario 64, but Exxay would create these chemical compounds, and in Two No More, when Gate and Parcel fuse to invade the laboratory, which by the way is plot twist is the actual that mentioned within centuries. When Gate fuses with Parcel, and they make a weird amalgam of a monster, not a monster, but like a weird possessed hybrid of Parcel and Gate. Parcel's not actually in the past, but he's also not with Gate. And so when they invade and Boyd and Chris counterintuitively defend their laboratory, it's like, oh, that's pointless. They can't even hurt him. No, guys, believe, best believe. Believe, always believe. If you can get, your words are supposed... Now, not that your opinion never matters. Not that judging never happens. But judging is not conditional. And also, your opinion does to an extent matter. It does actually matter. Skyward Sword, Shinaka style. Because when Chris gets into Gates' head, it prevents him from making it easier to raise Parcel's morale, which has already been lowered by Andromeda's sword in Providence in the first place. Exxay, watching this story unravel from the effect the Inquiry Ghost, would be baller for his eyeballs. He'd probably be crying if he was anti-Inquiry Ghost. So the idea is that the downright comical is what really matters in devolving culture. Because if this makes it past the timeline, the evolving culture will go downhill. The upgrade is only one thing. You having them together as a placebo or as a retcon might be helpful, because even just using this to defeat Parcel in that moment, or defeat quote unquote, or not quote unquote, with a not quote unquote. But Parcel is defeated by Chris with the upgrading element or compound. But the downgrading compound is what its mere existence is what allows it to be used against Devon culture. And once it is created in the Space City arc of the story, book 2, it downhill does Devon culture go. Oh, let out that freaking Pandora's box, right? Kind of like the Pandora's box of it taking calculated risks. Because when Angus comes back from his vacation and he's about to get executed at random from the cockroaches, or the AKK cops. Oh, I'm sorry, is that Angus lingo, but describe the policeman? I'm sorry. But anyways. And then when they teleport away at the last second, when Gate will show him why it happened, and then they will teleport away to the mansion. Parcel will walk up to him and be like, 7 hours. Angus, we have 7 hours. And then Gate's like, first, you know that kind of thing where it's like edgy, like dialogue and choreography, but a little different there, not edgy movie things. We haven't even gotten to Space City yet. What the fuck? I made up all this when I made the first book. Kind of like Jill Rowling describing Deathly Hallows from Sorcerer's Stone. Oh, that's awesome. But I love Zarius and Jill for that, though, by the way. Really, really awesome people. Let alone Karen and McKenna and everyone else. But, you know, indeed, the best thing is ideal, the right things are promised. And life is fair. Here's the thing, Andromeda. That condition doesn't need to exist, because if we need a fairness principle for everything else in life, then why is life fair? And then the crowd goes wild because they don't think life is fair. It's like, most people who are single about that aren't actually using Jewish philosophy or Greek philosophy, but the Romans and Christians aren't wrong either, are they? You know, we don't have to pretend Jesus Christ is relevant to the universal spirit, right? No one does.